simple. Call the following number: 050-128-7814, 050-781-128-7814. I'll take it again: 050-128-7814, 050-128-7814, and send them a WhatsApp message as well if that's what you want to do. 050-128-7818, 050-128-7818, or you could also visit their website at afaccra.org. It's very essential that you learn another language. Do that for your New Year resolution. Go and learn French at Alliance Française. But quickly, let me introduce my guest this morning. He's no new face to the AM Club. You probably see him on Money Talk. Hi, my name is Kingsley Autry, financial investment professional, and he's here with us. Kingsley, good morning.
Good morning, and good morning to all your listeners out there.
Is a financial thing, yeah? I think it's a financial thing. The way you guys dress is the suit for me. Sometimes it can be very simple. Sometimes it can be, three-piece with the shoes and a long black socks.
It all depends on the mood. So based on the mood you dress to.
No pocket today, no pocket square. No Tuesday, so you're taking it easy.
just
really love it. It's good to have you, bro. Okay. Let me also say William Duncan will join us via Zoom, or has joined us via Zoom. He's the founder of Spear Capital and Advisory. Just to make sure he's with us. William, are you there? There you are.
Right here.
Awesome. Gentlemen, let's have our conversation. But I'll start off, of course, with Kingsley, who's in the studio with me. And the big question, I've heard people say, or people advise me and say that, you know what, when you're into business and you want to be an entrepreneur, it's always wise not to use your own money, use somebody else's money. I wonder, as I'm about to start this business, let's say for someone who's not an entrepreneur yet and is aspiring to be or starting out, do I look for funds? Do I start off with my capital, perhaps my savings or something, or do I find a way to use somebody else's money to start my business?
Yeah. So thanks for that. And what I would say is that ideally, it is best you start with your own capital. Now, when investors or when people are looking at business, one thing they look out for is what we call skin in the game. Skin in the game basically tells how much of your own personal commitment is in the business. It sometimes sends a signal out there that if you are putting your own capital, certainly you wouldn't want to lose your money. So even if I come on to complement your capital, I know that I'm in business with somebody who is geared towards preserving the capital. But assuming I have zero in it and I'm like, put my money in it, I'll ask the obvious question. If the business goes down, what happens to you? I lose nothing, but the investor loses everything. So ideally, where you can and where you have the means, it's best you complement whatever capital you are even seeking to raise externally with first your own income. And that is why you have to then plan towards starting a business. Now, you don't just wake up and be like, I want to start a business. You have to have like a goal, a plan towards it. When you start planning, it might require you to start saving, putting down pieces of money together, which eventually could be the startup capital. But it's worth mentioning that there are instances where regardless, your money might not be enough to start the business, and that is where you will have to look externally. So starting early and starting it right, I would say always start with your capital where possible. Only go in if your initial capital is not enough to be able to start a business.
Okay, and perhaps you would help us, you or William will help us understand, because I know that for MSMEs, there are different levels to need to start. Maybe you can help us, educate us a little bit on that briefly. But this thing you said that I want to touch on, how important, you said you need to have a plan. So while I'm thinking of capital, whether to use my own capital or to find an external capital, how important is a business plan towards what I'm doing? Is the success of my business going to depend on my business plan, what I have written down, what I have planned, or I could go ahead and still do my business without a business plan?
Yeah. So the success of your business would, to a very large extent, not fully depend on your business plan. Because what you may have written down might not be what you would eventually execute. But then the business plan serves as a guide to minimize any risks of failure and then boost your chances of success. So in as much as having a business plan is not equal to I'll be a successful entrepreneur. It is the starting point towards your success. Now, like you rightly said, yes, there are instances where for various, let me say, businesses, you need different amounts of capital to help you start. And then again, you have to be able to tell how much do you need. Now, let me give you an instance. You see some people start a business, and then when they start a business, in just like a month or after some months, they run out of cash simply because they didn't forecast how much capital they will need to start a business. So they did underestimate the capital. That's where the business plan comes in. But when you look at the business plan, there's some part which is about operations, there's some part which is about your marketing, there's some part which is about your team, there's some part which is about the equipment you might need, assuming your business requires that. You have all these various components coming together. You are able to estimate how much do I need to execute on each of these fronts. You sometimes even put in a buffer as part of your plan. So you don't start something and you don't even know the outcome. But the issue is if you don't have that plan, then you just wake up, oh, I'm going to start, let me say, a suit business. Oh, I have 100,000, so it's enough. You go to the market, you sell your first suit, second suit, stock goes up, or price of stock goes up. But you didn't plan for that. So in the end, you go out of business. You start a food business. Okay, I need 100 cedis to be able to start my cocoa business. But then you go to the market and you realize that the price of the corn, which you were forecasting, has gone up significantly, but you didn't factor it in. So as much as possible, the business plan is not fully what will guarantee your success, but having it puts you on the right path so that when you are able to complement that with the right execution, you can be guaranteed some level of success.
Kinsley, that's very interesting to know. I know about business plans. I've known about business plans for a long time, and I know that it contains it's almost like a blueprint of what you're going to do. I didn't know that you have to be specific with even the amount of the prices of stuff on the market so that you don't get surprised. So like you said, maybe I want to start a cocoa business, and I say I have 200 Ghana cedis. Oh, and I said, a brodier is around 50 cedis, this one is around this. So that's how I calculate. But I have to go to the market and know how much is maize, how much is this, how much is that, and put it all in the plan. Very interesting.
Ideally, there's a part of the business plan which has the finances, and some call it like the financial forecast, financial projection, and that is where you are trying to estimate, for example, the cost it will take you to start the business and then to run it maybe for a 5-year period or for a 10-year period. In that analysis, you need to have some idea as to what the trends are. You don't build a business plan by isolating yourself from the market. So you put corn, let's say 10 cedis. I mean, what the market is 20 Ghana cedis. Like already you're starting on the wrong foot. So ideally you have to do some form of research, market research, get to understand what the price is, and then you yourself also forecast what the price could be based on the trends you are seeing. And then you have some reasonable estimate. And again, these are estimates, they are not actuals. It could be more or it could be less. But like I said, it gives you at least a starting footprint to launch your business.
Beautiful. Now let me go to William, who's with us via Zoom. William, if you're still with us.
I'm still here, Gordon.
Right, wonderful. So Kinsley has explained that business plan side to us. So now I know I'm going into business. I know I need capital. You run Spear Capital and Advisory. So how do I identify that what I'm going into is a micro, is a small, is a medium enterprise? And how much do I need when I recognize where I fall?
I think Kinsley has done a good job of giving us an understanding of where the business plan sits in all of that work. The plan you put together will tell you whether you're a micro, you're small, you're a medium scale, and that then determines how much capital you need to raise. I also like the point he made about starting off with your own funds. Usually it's called bootstrapping, and so you typically work with all the finances that you have put together to be able to start it. However, you can also look to maybe family, friends, a few people who you can partner with to start up the business. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a financial burden on you. You can always speak to people who can partner with, or maybe family and friends. Now, the amount of capital you need to raise, again, will always depend on what business you are looking to do. If you are looking to do a food business, then you need to really estimate how much you're going to need to be able to start off in getting the hardware, the raw materials, staffing, location, and a lot of those costs. So your business plan really is the basis for determining how much capital you need. Again, the financial projections that you make, I tell startups and entrepreneurs that when you make a business plan, have somebody else look at it, either an accountant, a financial person, or somebody who is already in business, because you need that second eye to just eyeball the things you put together, especially those financials. Because like Kinsley said, you don't want to start off on the wrong foot. And starting off with not enough capital can set you back maybe a couple of steps, and you don't want to do that. And so get your business plan together first, have somebody eyeball it, and then those projections will give you a base to start with. So then you can tell that, okay, I'm going to start a food business. I need about 5,000 CDs to be able to take me through a certain period, say a month or maybe a month and a half, And after a month and a half, I will be able to generate some amount of revenues into the business to keep me flowing. If you need 5,000 and you go and request for 4,000, you have a 1,000 CD deficit. That will translate into lower revenues, and you may not be able to continue running the business from there. And so finding capital really depends on what sort of business plan you put together, the projections you put in there, and again, the industry and the market you're trying to get into. Those dynamics need to be carefully watched before you can finally determine and say, I'm a small business and I'll need, say, 10,000. I'm a medium scale, I'm going to need about 50,000 and those sort of amounts. But I always tell people, if you're starting off on your own, you're really, really a small person. So keep it small, keep your business within your reach so that you can manage all the internals and externals that matter to the business.
Okay, William, let me still stay on you. So we have our business plan in place. We have an understanding of what we are doing. We have our capital. We've started business. Now, we made projections and all that. As a startup, I hear startup is usually for tech companies, but as a small business starting up, do I need a backup? Because I noticed something. I tried business some years ago. I don't know why, for some reason, when we start business, we think that it's just going to, but this thing I'm going to sell, people like it. So I started immediately. I want to start making some level of profit, even in the first 2 months. So what do I do? Do I need a backup fund so that when I start my business, let's say, for instance, it's a food business, and food is perishable. So I start, and then the first 1 month, I realized that people are not eating it the way I thought that they'll come and eat it. How do I support the business? At that point, what do I do if I have no money anywhere else?
Yeah, so again, I'll go back to the financial projections you put in your business plan, right? Because if you project properly, okay, at the base level, which is at the start of, you would have a backup. So again, I'm starting off with 50,000 CDs to run a food business. I'm going to have a contingency plan, and that contingency will be, say, 10% of the capital that I'm going to find or put together. So I'm going to look for another 5,000 or 10,000 CDs as a backup plan. Like you rightly said, startups are risky. The likelihood of making revenue in your first 6 months is between 0 and 2%, right? Because there's a lot of work that goes into it. Even though it's a food business, you might get a couple of people coming in and they will not be return customers because maybe your salt was too much the first time, your spicing was not right, your packaging wasn't nice, and maybe general customer management was not nice. And so people may not patronize your food business. Yes, food will sell, but food will sell, again, based on location, based on time, based on our palette, our food palette. Some people will like watching in the evening, some people don't like watching in the afternoon. A lot of things come into play. And so if you project that to start off a food business, I will need 50,000, a 10% buffer will keep you, going for a bit of time. And then you can manage yourself from there. Startups, I tell all the founders and entrepreneurs I speak to, especially those in the startup world, that don't expect to make revenues for the first year. In your first year, what you are doing is finding a product market fit, which essentially allowing the industry to accept your business, growing a client base, right, and continuously iterating the product or the service you have. Focus on these 3 things in your first year. Revenues will start coming in after the first year when these 3 things have been nailed down. Do you understand? And all of that will be key, will be in your business plan. And even the business plan, it as you continue, it iterates, right? So many startups will start off with a certain idea, of a business. 6 months down the line, they'll realize that maybe a piece of the business that they are looking at may not necessarily be producing a sort of revenue. So they might want to rebrand it, or they might want to take it out. And so the business plan in itself is not static. right? It's not static. It's an evolving piece of paper with information on it. So it's a guideline, like Kingsley said, but you need to grow that alongside as well.
This watching thing you said has just reminded me. This is a free advertisement for this woman in Medina. I don't know if you know about this woman in Medina. She comes at 1 a.m.
I said on Twitter.
Watch it at 1
Yeah,
a.m.
I saw it on Twitter some time back.
Yeah.
I visited her the first time last 2 weeks. My goodness, my Lord. The queue at 1:30, 2 a.m. in that
crazy.
corner in Medina is amazing. But
Yeah.
Kingsley, let me ask Kingsley. Kingsley, what are some of the common mistakes young business people make, entrepreneurs?
So the very first one, since we are talking about capital, is not knowing the right amount of capital they need to run their business. Now, on that, there are two angles to it. Too much money at the early stage could be detrimental to your success as a business. Some people sometimes feel like, oh, okay, I'm starting a business, throw all the money at me. It might not always be the best. It could put pressure on you. Your investors could be asking you to do stuff which you've not validated, and then before you realize, you blow the cash. Too much money might be harmful to you. Too little money too will also be harmful to you, of course. You will not be able to fully execute on what you were planning to do. The ideal amount is what you have to be able to get. So, yes, too much, not knowing how much the business needs is can be one of the dangers that could lead to your failure. The second thing is not starting with the market in mind. You see a lot of businesses start something, and then they first think of, oh, how much do I have to produce? Where do I have to get this? But they forget that I'm producing for a market. Does the market want what I want? So I'm a farmer. Yes, I've been told that farming maize is nice and everything, but I don't even know where I'm going to sell the maize to when I harvest. So I start the maize business. Harvesting is due. I harvest the crops, but there's no market to sell to. What happens? I end up selling it for cheap because I don't get anybody, or sometimes it goes bad because there was no market in mind. So not starting with the market in mind is also one common mistake that we see startup founders do. Even in the tech space, so assuming you are in the tech business too, you are starting a product. You don't validate whether there's a market for that software you want to bring or that new tech product. You just start, hey, I believe in it. It's going to work. No. Start with a market in mind. So that is the second common mistake that we see businesses do. The third thing that also leads to some business failure is not keeping records. Record keeping to a very large extent is to your own benefit. If you are keeping good financial records, for instance, you can be able to tell whether you are making a profit, you are making a loss, whether your revenues are increasing, whether they are decreasing, whether you should even continue being in that business or you should just fold that business and move on to something else. But yes, most businesses don't have records. They just do it in a very unusual and unplanned way. So they are not able to tell whether their business is on life support or their business is actually making their money. So keeping records is very good. And for this, if you are very early stage, you might not have the money to be able to hire an accountant and stuff. You can start with your own basic record, like an Excel sheet. You bought something today, how much did you buy it? You record it. You sold something today, you record it. Who are your debtors? Which people owe you? You list them down, how much do they owe you? Which people do you owe? You keep basic record. It helps you to make good financial decisions at every point in time. But sadly, most businesses don't do that. So I think just at the surface, not knowing the right capital, and even going back to the capital, there's one part I want to even touch on. What type of capital do you even take on in the very early stage? Now you see a business not making cash, not making profits, and they are going for debt. You are basically shooting yourself in the wrong foot. How are you going to repay that debt? So you end up now having to keep refinancing. So I borrow from you to pay off the debt, and because I don't have money to pay you, I go to Kojo to go and borrow from Kojo. So it becomes like a circle.
Like what our government is doing.
Possibly. It becomes like a circle. And then you see the same trend happening in the business space. Know when to even go for debt. It's very key. I don't know whether we'll have time to speak about when to go out for it. That is one thing that most businesses don't know. So they start a business, and from day one, they're already paying interest. So money that they could have used to put into the business to grow it, that money is going to an external financier. They are not able to grow the business. The debt costs keep increasing. They keep borrowing. 2 or 3 years, they are out of business. So these various elements are the common mistakes that I've seen founders do. Market, not knowing the right capital and the right capital type, and not keeping proper records.
Okay. Follow up, please. You mentioned three things: capital, not knowing the right capital, not knowing the market, and not keeping records. I'll leave the capital for William to handle, but the knowing the market. So there's the informal sector and there's a formal sector. For the tech, if you want to understand the market, there are metrics you can, there are companies, agencies you can seek to help you out, like which people are following this, which people are enjoying this, that you can get. But for the informal sector, how do I know, how do I understand the market?
Yes, so the very first, one obvious way where people seek to secure their market is through what we call an offtake contract. So let's say I'm farming. I intend to harvest, let's say, 100 bags of maize. So I could go to a possible player, an off-taker. Maybe if I'm big, I could go to Nestle. If I'm not big, I could look at other players that might need what I want.
Have. Okay.
So I go to them and I'm like, this is the plan or the produce that I intend to harvest at the end of the farming season. Can we just give like some form of like contract where you agree to buy this off-take price and then we set out some basic price and put in some conditionalities which enables it to be flexible or not. You can start with that. So you can secure an off-take contract. The good thing is there are some businesses or there are some players that when you go to, they are willing to give you an off-take contract. That is if your produce feed or plugs directly into what they need. So like you are a poultry producer, like again, a soya producer or maize producer. You go to a poultry or a feed business, you talk to them, they are willing, they can give you an off-take contract. So that's one way the informal player can be able to secure the market, having an off-take contract. The other thing that you can use, because again, there isn't always the instance where there will be an off-take contract, because it's not always that somebody will be willing to give you a formal document. So how can you tell? Now, you can also tell that through the common demand trend. So before you start a business, you survey the area. You realize that in this particular place, people, or there's a very long cocoa seller there, queue at some point. She is the only person selling cocoa. Everybody goes to, everybody wants cocoa, but then nobody else is selling cocoa. Okay, maybe if I set up an alternative cocoa joint and I get the things right, people could be able to come. So they,
you said maybe,
yeah, maybe. So again, you have to then, that's why William said, you don't then go big. You start small. You use that as a way to validate
the market,
whether there is demand for it. You don't just wake up and go and prepare, let's say, 10 bowls of cook. Like you just start one, oh, people are enjoying it. Let me use. So now you are using more like the location data to be able to tell whether there is a market for your produce. So the market speaks to you. Let's wrap on this. The market speaks to you. If you're an entrepreneur, you can always tell whether there is a demand for it or there isn't a demand for it. The common mistake that some entrepreneurs do is to be delusional. They keep hoping that there will be a market for it. Meanwhile, the data is telling you that nobody wants your product. Nobody wants it. When you know that, then you have to. So it's about, as much as possible, our advice, where you can secure an off-take contract, basically where you can secure a buyer for your product or for what you are selling, start with that arrangement, secure it, make it flexible, and then with time, even when you are selling or you are churning out your production, there's a market to supply that to.
You're a Christian, are you?
Yes.
Are you Christian?
Yeah.
Does faith play any role in business in any way? Where I go and I know there's just one person selling this thing here, and I want to also go and start this business there, and I know that people, Charlie, my faith is telling me that. Does it play? This is just by the way.
No. Maybe you've been divinely inspired. That's a different thing. But for as much as possible, let the data speak to you. That is why, again, like I said, you need to be looking at data. You need to be doing your research. Don't just start something based on passion. Oh, I feel, I think. No, that's the market think. Use the data to inform you. So, for example, I sell sheets. Now, if I started selling the sheets, I realized that people were always asking.
It explains it. Yeah.
People were always asking me about, oh, okay, can you recommend the sheets? Can you recommend it? I was like, oh, people want to buy sheets. What can I do? I'm a very busy person, but if people want to buy sheets, I can be able to get something going to be able to meet that demand. It was a market-driven decision that I took. I didn't just start up and say, oh, people wear suits. So buy. So even without marketing, I still see people texting me each and every day that, hey, can I get suits? Can I get suits? It's because there is demand for it. I have validated that market. And it's the same way your market should speak to you. The market should speak to you through your interaction with your customers, like I said, through your observation, how you are seeing a particular product or demand for something turning out, or sometimes by taking a step forward to lock in some orders.
Beautiful. And before I go back to William, the record-keeping part, Are there apps and other tools that you can use to keep record? And as a young entrepreneur or someone starting out, do I need an accountant? Do I need someone to keep my books for me, to keep records?
Yeah. So very if you are very small, now very small meaning you don't have the means. Let me use the word. You don't have the means to employ a third person. It is commonly said at the beginning of a business, you are the accountant, you are the salesperson, you are the CEO, you are the everything. So yes, it's not always at a very early stage where you don't have the means. You don't go for something that you don't have. What you can do, like I said, is Excel. I think everybody is used to Excel, and the good thing is Excel has very nice column. You can just create a very simple spreadsheet. We can name one tab revenue tab, and you're just tracking all the sales you are making on a daily basis. You can make another tab where you create maybe a cost tab, and this is where you're tracking all your expenditure or the cost you incur in meeting that produce. You can create another one, maybe general expenses. You are tracking your utilities and other stuff. You can create another, all in Excel, one sheet. Another tab, maybe your assets. Yeah, you list down all the assets you have and all the assets you are likely to get. You can create another one where you are tracking your profits. So you can use Excel. So at the basic or at the very minimum level, Excel can be able to help you keep records of it. And this is just about the determination. When you sell, you just write it. Very simple. Now, when you become more sophisticated or you have the little means, there are softwares like the Tally software. We have software like Sage 50. We have software like Zero. So for those who are listening, Zero is Xero. Tally is Tally. Sage is Sage 50. We have QuickBooks. So these are some.
These are free apps. Are they free? Or you pay a little fee for it?
There could be some versions that come out, like the basic versions that are free, and then when you want more advanced features, for some of them, but for some they are not free, but for some, so you can play with the four that I've mentioned and see which one works for with your budget. Now they have, for these ones, they've built very nice interfaces for you. So all you have to do is to be entering the records. So that is for somebody who has the means and is looking to take their bookkeeping to another level. But if you don't have the means, at the very minimum, use Excel to track your daily records or your daily activities.
Someone once said, if you think life is hard, try Excel.
It's a very simple tool.
It's not simple for everybody. You just have to learn. But Kingsley, please catch your breath.
Sure.
Let me talk to William. Guys, we're discussing financial management for entrepreneurs. If you're a young entrepreneur or you're aspiring to be an entrepreneur, this is for you. If you have questions, send it to us on our WhatsApp tablet. It's 055 033 1511, 055 033 1511. If something is confusing you about your business and you want to ask our resource people here, do so on that number. But William, back to you, and I want to ask, as a capital person, as a finance person, when is it right to come to you for investment? When is it okay to borrow? When is it okay to say, my business has gotten to the point where I need investors? Is it at the beginning, or is when I'm raking in some profits?
So typically, I would consider investments when there's a product there's a product or a service that is selling, you are making revenues, and there's a good client base. These three things are key, right? Because like Kingsley was saying, if your product or service is not market validated or there's no product market fit, that means that people are not liking your service, people are not liking your product, and so are not using or are not patronizing your business. And that's a red flag. So if you get that right, I say, okay, now how much money are you making per client or per user or per customer? Do you understand? If you have a service, what are the costs and what revenues are you making off that one person? That will then determine how much revenue you are making, say, a year. Okay, and remember I said before that typically startups won't break even until about a year after, right? So now at the point you are coming to me, you are, say, 18 months or 24 months in. So at that point, your product or your service has been nailed down. You know that people come to you for a particular service. You are top of mind when it comes to a certain product or a certain service. Now, your revenues will eventually flow when all of that is validated by the clients that you have. And there's a bit more due diligence. So like I like the point Kingsley was making, that from the very get-go, have a database of financial information. Excel is good. I've seen some others use Google Sheets. It's also a free service. If you are not very conversant with Excel or Google Sheet, there are many templates you can download off the internet and then just plug in as you go. It will take a bit of understanding, but it saves you the stress of creating the tabs and all, because all of those templates have the calculations done back end. So profit, costs, all of those come in. And so I'll typically look at these four things: your product market fit, your revenues, your client base, and your financials, because your financials will tell me how much investment I can make into the business and what sort of returns I can get. Now, the capital that you have, right, can be twofold. Like Kingsley was saying, there's the equity bit and there's the debt bit. I am one strong advocate for not starting off your business with any debt, no loans, no. Don't go and ask anybody for money. Start with as much as you have and can generate on your own. That way, you are able to manage the money and the business growth by yourself. Like Kingsley said, every entrepreneur is a CEO, he's the marketer, he's a salesman, he's the operations person, he's everything, right? And so you need to be able to manage the business within the scope of your human capacity. And you don't want to take on too much and waste it and have too little and not be able to do what you want to do. And so that will also feature into the financials that you have. And then I make a determination. Okay, so you're making this much money. I can invest this much money over a period of time to be able to move you from, say, point A to point B, And within that movement, there are milestones. And so typically, when you're coming to me as an investor, you know what you want, you know what you're looking for, and you know the end goal. My job is to validate all of these three things and then decide that, okay, making the investment is good for me or good for whichever investors decide to put money into the business.
Okay, William, and still staying with you, we have our business now. It's running. It's working perfectly. Whether I have taken money from someone or not, granted, we have a running business and we are making profits. Now, first of all, do I need separate accounts? Do I need one account for revenues where my monies are coming in? People who are buying are sending to my Momo number or my bank account. Do I need a separate account? What's the best practice? Do I need a separate account for my revenues and a separate one for my expenditure? Or do I need one account where I pull in everything and I make expenses from there?
For simplicity, have two accounts.
Okay.
One that collects and one that gives. Okay, so when you go into your revenue account, you know that over a period of time, I've made this much money. When you pull the statements from the cost account, you know that I've spent this much money. What that allows you to do in very simple terms is, if you need to make a certain cost, you go into your revenue account. So you first make the determination of what cost you need to make. Then you go into your revenue account, look how much is there. Can I afford it? If I can't afford it, I wait. Because there's a unique problem with startups that they want to do so much within a short period of time, when really growing a business from the very beginning requires a lot of patience and being able to make the right decisions. And so if you have two different accounts, it allows you to, first off, adjudge properly what sort of cost I'm incurring for my business. And then secondly, make the determination based on the revenues that are coming in, right, to make the cost. Okay, so if for the month of November, my revenues were 1,000, right? Now going into December, I know it's peak season for my business, and Christmas may be a hit for me, and so I want to make certain purchases. Now, I've done the calculation and I need 1,500 CDs. My revenues for last month were 1,000. I don't want to use all of the 1,000, so how do I supplement the rest, to be able to get it? So do I do a bit more selling, or do I do a bit more aggressive selling early December to be able to catch up and make the, or so you'll be able to then make certain determinations based on how much revenues are coming in and how much cost you need to incur. Just like Kingsley said, you also need to factor in your utilities, your hardware costs, a lot of these other recurring costs that will come in. So you manage that from the cost account and you look against your revenue. The difference is where you look at your profits, and then you can tell my business is making enough profits, and then you can store some of that profits away into that backup plan, that backup contingency that I spoke about earlier. You don't. I always tell founders, if you're making profits, don't reinvest all of that profit, and reinvest
I was going to ask that.
90% of it. Yes, reinvest 90% of it and keep 10% of it in an emergency fund. So that when the rainy day comes and you need extra cash, that backup is there. So from the very first start, you break even, you're making revenues, have an emergency fund, and that emergency fund will continue to grow. If your business thrives, your business is going through all of the cycles that it goes through. At a point in time, after a 2-year period, and you need to make a capital expenditure, you can fall back on that contingency plan and say, look, I've saved this much money, I need to make this capex expense, and so instead of going for debt, I'm going to use my contingency, and that also may even save you from going to an investor to say that, look, I need to make this expense, I need to grow my business this much, and I need this money. If you have that money, you just take it out of your emergency fund and put it into your business. That way your business grows. So at this point, you haven't had to go for a loan or debt. You haven't had to go to an investor. Your business is running solely based on your business plan and market dynamics.
William, it's the first time I'm hearing this, that I should invest 90% of my profit back into the business and keep 10 in a contingency or an emergency. I thought the profit was for the business owner. I mean, I have my cost price, I have my servicing price where I have built my brand, I've built my company, it's running, I'm earning my revenues, I calculated monies for staff, utilities and all that. So that extra one on it, which is my profit, I should throw it back into the business. I should throw 90% back into the business. Is that what you mean?
So when we start business, we want it to grow, right? And like I said, I'm very agnostic to founders or entrepreneurs in the very, very early stage going for debt.
Okay.
The best way to refinance or to keep your business growing is to put back the profits you make.
Okay.
Because if you are going to continuously run the business and you need cash, your profit is that cash you need.
Right.
Right. So at the end of the year, I made 10,000 cedis in profits. I want to add on an extra service to my business. I can put back that profit into my business rather than going to somebody to say, I need 10,000 to be able to add on, when you don't have the cash. It will also give me a sense of how financially well you're managing your business. It's all part of financial prudence, and it speaks to me a lot as a capital person, as an investment person, that a founder is putting back his profits, to avoid having to go in the very early stage to an investor, or to go and look for debt.
So at what point does the chop come inside? When your business is fully grown, is that what we're saying?
Yes. I think that the glory of an entrepreneur is when he can sit back and his business is running on autopilot.
Right.
It's as simple as that. Right. If you can step back from the business, you have staff, you have a management team, and your product or service are selling without you having to make inputs, then you can start thinking about chop.
Nice one. Kingsley, Christmas is very close. Some 19 days to Christmas. We're all looking for discounts. So as an entrepreneur, I have loyal customers, I have clients that I appreciate and all that, and even new ones that are coming in. How do I discount my products this Christmas and still work with some money?
Okay. I think, so just before I come out, let me just add to what William said. So on the very last point regarding when does the chop comes in. Now we have to also understand that every founder and their aspiration. Some people are not. So there's this story about a banker who met a farmer, a fisher, and he was like, "Oh, if I give you money, you can buy more boots, and then you can harvest more fish, and then you can live a beautiful life." And the fisherman asked the banker, "Okay, and then what happens?" And the guy is like, "And then you can live the best of life, you can take the children to the best of schools." And the guy asked him, "Okay, and then what happens?" And he kept asking, before the banker realized that what is motivating the fisherman It's not how huge his wealth or success is going to be. The fact that he is fishing, whether on a small scale or something,
it's okay for him.
Okay for him.
He's content.
So he was not really moved by the banker's wish that by putting in money into his business, it can help him expand. And that is it for every founder. So every founder, you have to know what you really want to get. There are companies we normally say are in the growth stage. Companies in the growth stage are companies where the CEO or the management team are striving for more growth. They want to expand. Those people, they normally will plow back their profits in, or like, as William said, they would kind of like reinvest the capital, because the goal is to keep doubling their growth. So you go elsewhere. Let me give you some very famous examples. In the early days of Amazon, I think Amazon is quite a product we can all relate to. The founder was just plowing back the money into the business. He was like, let's think long term. Let's think long term. Today, Amazon is a very valuable business. That was his vision. Another founder wouldn't have gone that route. From day one, he would have been enjoying some proceeds out of the business. So it's all up to you and what stage or how far you want to take your business. If you think there are more legs up for you to grasp, then go. If you think you are okay. And it's also worth mentioning that there are some businesses that are what we call cash cows. Those businesses, regardless, they keep generating cash. So they can take some money for themselves, and then they can still keep running and then keep making more money, because there is so much demand. They are able to price well, which would then lead to my point on pricing. They are able to price well, so regardless, they will keep making money. Cash cows sometimes would see businesses that are running such businesses, like where the business pumps a lot of cash, free cash to the owner. Sometimes they could be allowed to take some money. So the simple thing is, just to wrap up on this, you have to know the type of business you are running. Whether your business, even when you are sleeping, you are even making more money, so that even when you take out 10% or 20%, you will not be affected, because the business on its own can generate cash. You have to know. You have to know the stage. Whether your business is at that stage where you want to expand crazily, then ideally it would be best to keep reinvesting that money so that you can expand in the way that you want. And then you have to know personally what you want out of your business. What's your desire? If you are trying to build the next big thing, then you need to know you have to sacrifice today's pleasure for tomorrow's gain. But if you don't care, and let's be honest, you just want to build something small, then you manage the difference. So know the stage you are in, know your personal aspiration as a business, and know whether your type of business is one where you are so cash rich, the business is able to generate cash, or one that you are very tight. When you are very tight, you don't keep spending. You have to know how to then manage your cash very well. Now, talking about that, they are going to Christmas. How then do you price? In the cons, we have some very interesting terms. We call it elastic and inelastic demand. Let me make it very simple. Inelastic is basically where you keep increasing the price. There's so much demand for the product, so people will still keep buying, right? Elastic, some small percentage change in the price could make some people not buy. Again, as a founder, you have to be able to tell what kind of business you are in, especially if you are in a market which is very competitive. Now, you shouldn't price in a way that you are making loss. Certainly, you are not in business to make a loss. But again, you have to understand your motive. So there are two ways of making money as a business, so that you know how to price. The business where we call it volume-driven business. So in that case, just 10 pesos, for example, is enough for you, because you know you can sell more. So by selling more, it makes up for that small profit you are making. If your business is that where you drive volume, then you are free to just look for reasonable profits, which could help you sell your product faster and be able to generate. Know that type of business. If your business is also the one where even when your prices, like let's say, it's really, you don't aim to sell a lot. Just by selling 5 units, you are able to make the profit that you desire. Then you should be able to know how to price. So the whole thing is not the kind of customers you are dealing with. One, are they the people that a small change in price will move them? Sometimes you can even discount and nobody will still buy your product. So discounting is not always a solution. It all depends on what one there is demand, like I said. So know the kind of customers. Are they the ones that are moved by price? If you are moved by price, then the next point is, how do you price? Price based on what you want to make out of the business. If your business generally runs on volume, then you take some, reduce it in a way that you're not making a loss, have some marginal profits, and then sell more quantities. to be able to make some good money. But if your business is one that it's not a volume game, so only maybe 5 or 10 people will just buy, then you should know that you can't price yourself out of the market. So you have to look at your data and be able to tell how best to price your product.
Lastly, with what you said too, I look forward to the day when Amelia will say, today the 2 cedis cocoa is now 1 cedi 50 pesos. It's never heard of. Nowhere in the informal sector will you hear a cocoa seller or a
and
washing
that's the
seller.
sad thing because they are a volume
Yes.
business. They can, or I don't know their unit economists. I think.
Oh, but you wake up in the morning, you see the queue.
The queue, I get you.
And they cook so many basins of the wache, you know. So I'm thinking this Christmas.
Oh yeah.
You know, the informal sector, they can say that. Oh, say watching I'm on 2 cedis and
know.
1 cedi 50 pesos west.
Or even 2 cedis, buy 2 cedis, get free macaroni.
No, that's actually a good one. Free will itself.
Free will. No, I think we are in the business period. Just to wrap up on this. Businesses are becoming competitive. You are seeing, if you are selling wache, you realize in your community, it might not just be you selling a wache, it could be a lot. If you are running a business, I'll tell you to be creative with your pricing at this point in time. Don't be so stagnated on, I'm used to this way of pricing. I should do it, regardless of what it leads to. Again, look at what is happening around you. Price in a way that you don't make a loss, the very first step, but price in a way that you are still able to take advantage, even if you are in a competitive environment, and you're also to be able to make a profit. And that will require some creativity. Like I said, maybe you give buy one, get one free, like we see during Christmas.
Yeah.
Or we see some people call something called cashback, where I sell to you, then I give you a percentage of what you sold to me back to you.
Yeah.
We have some people that give like discounts.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works, it doesn't work. But just be creative with the pricing. But the ultimate goal is don't try to price yourself out of business.
Finally, Duncan, you, William, how essential, I mean, like we said, we're in business to make money. So how essential is it for me to seek financial advice or talk to people like you or Kinsley when I'm starting out as an entrepreneur?
So I was going to add on to something Kinsley, to the response he was giving. I think really at the time we are in now, to be very creative with your pricing, you should also look at loyalty programs, you know, so that what it helps you is you're able to track the users that are, so you're able to track recurring users or recurring customers, right? And then you can put in a certain loyalty program that says that if you buy 200 CDs per time from my business over a period of time, you get a 20% discount on your next purchase. You don't need to wait till festive seasons to give out discounts. A loyalty program could really, one, generate you new clients and new users, and then also generates revenue for you, and then give you a bit more metric on your business understanding. Now, to the question that you asked me, it is, I think from the very beginning, you need to always have somebody in your corner who can advise you financially. Just because, again, if you're a Ghanaian business and the times that we are in now, I don't think that you can even start a business without speaking to somebody who is either in business or is a finance person or is an accounts person. You don't need to book, you go for somebody high end, but somebody that you trust, somebody that is a banker, somebody who is a finance person and can just give you some understanding of the current market and help you navigate it through. It's as critical as creating the business plan as is having somebody who is financially inclined and can look at it. In the beginning, I said that when you are eyeballing, your business plan, a finance person is critical for me. Have a finance person look at it, have a legal person look at it, and have a business person look at it. All of these three people will give you different perspectives and can help you fine-tune your business plan and then help you, kickstart your business right. So it's imperative. It might even be helpful when you speak to an accounts person. The person will say, hey, I have a free template here that I've built over time. So you can use this template to track your expenses, your incomes, and a lot of the things that Kinsley and I have said. And so from the very beginning, have an accounts person. When your business grows and you can employ somebody, take off that responsibility from you and have somebody do it, but also have an oversight on it, But from the very get-go, have somebody who is finance related, if you can, have a legal person as well, and then have a very general business person who understands business in our markets and can help you navigate through.
Very well said, William Duncan. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I'm looking forward to that discount this Christmas. Free plug. Hair salon mode. Hair salon mode. Hair salon mode. Ladies who want to buy hair, visit Hair Salon Mode on Instagram. I'm sure they have some discounts for you. Okay, but William, thank you so much. Truly appreciate your time. William Duncan, where can we find you, William?
Sphere Capital Advisory. Just check out the website, drop me an email. I personally look at the emails that come through from the website from founders, entrepreneurs. So that comes directly to me. So I'll read everything, I'll respond. You can catch me on Twitter. You can catch me on LinkedIn, William Duncan on LinkedIn. On Twitter is at William Sechi. So anyway, so long as you can catch me and you can message me, I'll respond. I always make time for entrepreneurs and founders because I think really they are the growth of Ghana. So I make time for them. Anywhere you can catch me. If you see me in town, stop me and ask me questions.
I will definitely stop you. We'll definitely stop you. And Kingsley, if we don't find you on Money Talk Giving Free, can we find you?
So across social media, Kingsley Otre, that's my name, or SK_Otre. So the Otre is OTCHERE. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, SK_Otre, or my actual name, Kingsley Otre. You can just reach out to me.
And Kingsley is an investment professional. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
I enjoyed my time, and we hope to do this again. Guys, thank you so much for joining Lifestyle Daily. We are done. Moving on to Travel Tuesday. I told you, Miss Drew has been in the Upper West region. Miss Drew came from London to come to this country. She has seen Upper West region, and I've never been to the Upper West region. Guys, you'll be amazed at how much fun she had over there. Travel Tuesday is up next. Stay with us.